welcome.
Hi.
Welcome to our first ever live Lust is Boring open forum Q&A with Crystalina and I. So we're at home. All the kids are still awake. We're trying to pull this off. So if you hear dogs barking, you hear children screaming, you hear a fire engine, dude, par for the course. So we might have to get up in the middle and go break up fights or get babies that are sleeping in the next room. So, hey, this is live internet. So again, thank you for joining us. First off, real excited. Our pilgrimage coming up this summer to the Holy Land into Krakow. For those interested in going to the Holy Land, which is really, it's a once in a lifetime. You got to do it. There's a $500 off special going on right now if you register by the end of February. So just a couple days left. They'll give you $500 off. It's kind of like a Valentine's special. So everyone's welcome on the pilgrimage, whether you're grandparents, married couples, single young adults, college students. It's open for absolutely everybody. So think about it, pray about it. It's myself and Father Agostino Torres are going to be leading the pilgrimage. Life-changing stuff. So go to chastity.com/pilgrimage to register. And when you do, mention the $500 off Valentine thing if you're going to the Holy Land, and you get a discount off that one. Also, today's show is brought to you in part by Hallow, the app. If you haven't checked it out, you gotta. You just go to hallow.com/lustisboring to try this out for free for a couple of weeks. They've got a great Lenten prayer challenge. I think more than like 60,000 people have already signed up for this. Every single day, they give you meditations that you can chew on throughout Lent. So today, meditation is on the 7 sorrows of Our Lady. And so it's a lot. If you're just kind of wondering, okay, I gave up chocolate, but what else is there to Lent? Use your phone, get the Hallow app, and just go into the desert with Christ. And then also this episode is brought to you by Covenant Eyes. If you want to break free from porn, you want just internet security for the family. In my eyes, all of our families, it's like we're living in a bad neighborhood and you can lock the front door, but then someone's coming in the back door. Then someone's coming in through the windows, down the chimney, up the basement. So you got to seal off all these kind of portals of entry. Covenant Eyes helps you to do that. Every morning, you're going to get an email of all the websites everybody's been looking at under your roof. And so it's something you just got to have for the family. So definitely looking to get in Covenant Eyes. You can try it out for free by clicking the link in the show note below. Just go to covenanteyes.com, and then you can use the promo code CHASTITY. Try it out for free for a month. You're going to love it. So like I said, today is an open forum Q&A where you guys get to run the show. If you guys do not submit questions, we literally have nothing to say to you. So we really need you to just type it in there on Facebook, submit what questions you have on dating, on relationships, how far is too far, how do I discern my vocation, why does the church teach this, why does the church teach that, any stuff that you're going through. I'll try to fish through the different questions while Crystalina's maybe answering one. So it's going to be a little hodgepodge back and forth, but Crystalina, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. It's the first time I've been on Jason's, I guess, Facebook Live, so this is fun. So I guess anything goes at this point.
Yeah. So the questions are already rolling in. So first one we got here. Someone said, I just read somewhere that jealousy in relationships and life in general has nothing to do with the other person, but everything to do with us and our feelings of insecurities and not really being worthy. Maybe you could give us a deeper insight into this and advise us on some practical steps to deal with it. Well, yes and no. I mean, I don't think it would be fair to say it's always because of your insecurity, because maybe the person is objectively doing something wrong and is making you feel like you're the oversensitive one by not allowing them to kind of run off in this little micro affair or actual affair, whatever. So sometimes there's an objectively grave injustice going on and you're right to feel hurt. So sometimes that's going on. Other times, it is stuff from the past. It is stuff like I've been burned in the past, I've been hurt in the past, and if I ever get even a sniff of it, my radar is on high alert, and I start blaming the other person, when in reality, there's stuff in me that I really haven't addressed, that I really haven't, healed from, and so I'm hypersensitive. And so you really got to discern, what's going on there. Is it wounds from the past? Is it an indiscretion on the part of the other? I don't think we can have a cookie cutter answer to that, because in every relationship, the situation is going to be unique. And so if you're starting to doubt your judgment, well, maybe I'm too, oversensitive, and maybe this person's right, that they should be able to hang out with this other person of the opposite sex for hours on end, texting back and forth. No, I don't think so. All right. And so if you're really starting to trust or doubt your judgment, talk to people who love you. Talk to people whose opinions you respect and admire, and listen to what they have to say, because sometimes when you're in the middle of fog of a relationship, it really helps to get some outside advice. So, Crystalina, your thoughts? I'll run through some more questions here.
Also, the other person really should respect that maybe you've been burned in the past and just be sensitive to that. And over time, the more secure you feel in your relationship, the more you are really free from having those types of insecurities or thoughts, your mind just wandering when that person's away from you, and where are they at, what are they doing, who are they with. But there is something to be said that if you have some brokenness and you're bringing that into a relationship and it's undealt with, it will bubble over onto that other person if they're doing something or not. And like Jason said, there are some real reasons why maybe you are being jealous, or maybe there are warning signs that are happening when he's around other women right in front of you, and you're thinking, well, if he's doing this in front of me, what's he doing when he's not in front of me? And at the end of the day, you need to pray about it. You need to listen to that deep voice inside of your conscience, God speaking to you. And you sometimes know the answer. And sometimes they're doing something wrong. You're with the wrong person. You're with a cheater. You're with someone that's flirting. You really need to just cut it off then and not put yourself through that, because you don't always want to wonder when that person leaves. You want to know that they love you, they're with you, they support you, and that if you're there or not, they're going to be the same and they're going to be faithful. And if you're always constantly questioning, put yourself out of your own misery, and it's just not worth it sometimes.
Yeah, and one other thought that comes to mind too is when it comes to affairs, it's not simply sexual affairs, physical affairs. There's also emotional affairs. And these things, these emotional affairs, do not become baptized if they are religious in nature. Meaning sometimes people seek out friendships with members of the opposite sex when they're already in like a committed marital relationship to have deep spiritual intimacy with some other girl or some other guy. Oh, no, it's religious. It's like St. Francis and Clare. No, it's actually not, okay? And so when you start going outside of a relationship for the needs that should be satisfied within the relationship, that's a big red flag. And certainly if you start to have to hide stuff, things like that, but don't think that this thing is anything more acceptable if there's a spiritual excuse behind it. Yes, we should have friends, but, to me, you really got to have discernment for the other person. If they love you, then they're not going to call you oversensitive. They're going to care about your feelings instead of just dismissing them and discarding them and pretending like you're the problem. Let's say you are oversensitive. Okay, well then what should the person do? They should care about your sensitivities instead of just overriding all of them. So continue to listen to your gut and talk to people you love and respect and admire.
And it's okay to have standards. It's okay, and you don't need to lower the bar to be with anybody. And if you do, you need to question why you're doing that. It's not worth it. No lip service.
Next question coming in from Kieran. I have a 21-year-old son that says sex before marriage is fine and not biblical, and that adultery does not mean sex with someone that you love. He says that if you love someone and intend to marry them, then it's fine. Well, okay, adultery does not mean sex with someone that you love. Okay, adultery means you're having intercourse with someone other than your spouse. So if I sleep with someone else, that would be an act of adultery. I'm going outside the confines of marriage. If you have two people prior to marriage engaging in sexual acts, that would be considered fornication. It's a different Greek word in the New Testament that's used for that altogether. And so your son, despite his efforts to be a budding biblical scholar, the Bible is not on his side in trying to justify these sins. This is grave matter, and I think you should toss it back. Okay, where is this biblical verse that you could show me that says that two people can pretend to be husband and wife with their bodies without the reality of the sacrament of marriage between them? And so the total gift of the body should correspond with the total gift of the person. And if you haven't given someone your person, who you are in marriage, your last name, and until death do you part, then to give them your body through the sexual act would be a lie in the language of the body. And we got to ask, well, it's love. Well, what is love? I mean, love means you do what's best for this person. Is it really best to sleep with someone who's not your wife? Really best to sleep with someone who's not your husband? It might feel good in the moment, but this is not an expression of actual love. St. John Paul II, in his book, Love and Responsibility, discusses love. And he says that first stage of love is the attraction, right? And that's not, some people say, that's not love. It is love. It is part of love. It's kind of the raw material. But then he says it's got to move beyond desire to union. You want to be with one another. And you're somebody like, okay, I've got that. But he says in order for love to be complete, you need a third aspect, which is goodwill. And if that is missing from love, call it whatever the heck you want. It is not love. And so, yes, the attraction is going to be there. The desire for union is going to be there. But if you do not have goodwill, I want what is best for this person, emotionally, spiritually, not willing to expose them to sin, then you have real love. If you have that type of affection for the person, that you want what's best for them instead of simply what feels good in the moment. And so again, if he's trying to pull out the Bible and say this or that, just say, okay, show me chapter and verse where Jesus Christ or any of his apostles are saying that fornication, is acceptable. In actuality, it says that fornicators will not inherit the kingdom of God. I mean, the scriptures could not be any clearer on the matter. But I think you want to also just take another route and say, look, I'm not trying to tell you not to love your girlfriend. I'm the one begging you to love your girlfriend. And it's not that you're going too far. It's not that you're not going too far. It's that you're not really going anywhere. I want you to go all the way. And by that, I don't just mean sleep with her. I mean, give her your last name. Give her a wedding ring. Give her your address. Give her your bank account. Give her every breath you take until the day that you die. Give her the promise that no matter what happens, good or bad, sickness or health, if she gets in a paraplegic car accident the day after the wedding, you're not going anywhere. And he's like, well, that's kind of going too far, don't you think? Like, it's not the church telling us not to go too far. It's we're the ones that are holding back. So lust is not about going too far. Lust is about not going far enough through a total gift of oneself. So, Crystal, any other thoughts on someone who wants to biblically defend fornication?
Jason thought he was going to marry somebody else. He was dating. And that obviously didn't work out. And just because you think you just love this person, you're going to marry them, you may not. You never know what's going to happen and what the future is going to hold. That with all of your heart right now, you're going to marry, you may not. So you need to kind of reel it in a little bit, and you don't get privileges of being married when you're not. It's that simple.
Next question from Megan. I'm a 21-year-old Catholic female who will shortly be entering into the career of law enforcement. Awesome. Thank you, first responders. How do I respond if a boy says he would like to ask me on a date or be friends, but as a woman, I'm too strong, tall, independent for him? Well, you could get him taller shoes. No, I wouldn't recommend that. I don't think this is the right guy for you. In fact, I think precisely those things that turn off the wrong person will be the very things that attract the right person to you. I remember one girl, I talked to her after a high school assembly, and she said, this guy I'm with now, he says I'm too talkative and I'm too energetic and I'm too, bubbly and and he wants me to change. And he wants me to calm down and not talk so much and be more introverted. And so should I change and become those things for him? And I told her, no way. You don't want to conform who you are to be accepted by another. That's loneliness. They say loneliness is not isolation. Loneliness is conformity. And so do not conform, because if he falls in love with who he wants you to be, then he's not falling in love with who you are. It's precisely those personality traits about you, your energy and your ability to verbalize conversation, one man's going to find that extremely attractive. And he's like, wow, a woman I can hold a conversation with, a woman who's alive, has got some energy. I'm drawn to that one. And so don't feel the need to conform to a guy who thinks you're, maybe a little too assertive, too strong, too independent. No, I mean, those are good qualities. You should be strong. You should be independent in a healthy way. And so don't change you. Thank you for your service as well and for your courage. But I think there's a lot of guys out there who would not be intimidated by you, but would find you to be a great gift and a compliment to them.
If he's intimidated, you're bringing out some insecurities that he has, and that's not your problem. And don't you ever not shine with the gifts that God gave you. Any women out there, any man out there, God gave specific gifts for a reason, and your relationship, that should be a place where those actually grow even more fully into what God intended them to be. And your partner should help you with that, should encourage you, be a cheerleader almost, both of you, vice versa, to become that person God wants you to be. And if that makes that person insecure, just the gifts you have without even really deeply knowing you, that's a problem. And if he's insecure with this, what else is he going to be insecure with? What else is he going to say? Oh, the gifts, like your light, it's too bright. No, it's, I mean, come on. That's just not how it should be. So
Agreed. I'm glad we agree on these. Juliana is asking, I have a heart broken from the past relationship, but I did everything that I could to save the relationship, and the other person didn't do anything. Didn't nothing. It hurts me how he was so fine with the end. He had just amazing. We had just amazing moments together, and he wasn't so sure when he broke up with me. What should I do? Um, you want a guy, I think. Ultimately, what you deserve is a guy who's not Mr. Flip Floppy, who's not Mr. Indecision. Of 1 minute, it's just like sunshine and roses, and the next minute, he's not even answering your text messages. I just think you deserve better than that. And unfortunately, with a guy like this, he might not communicate to you what the issue is, because honestly, he might not even know what the issue is. He might just be like, well, I had feelings this day, and then I don't have feelings this day, so I guess I'm leaving. And you hear people sometimes say, I love you, I'm just not in love with you anymore. It's like, dude, I don't even know if you love me to begin with. I think you just love the feelings of being in love. And then when those feelings kind of tapered off, you did too. And so you deserve more than this. Like you deserve consistency. And as painful as this is, I mean, sometimes it hurts. It does. I've been through some painful breakups in my life. And I think, it takes time to heal from these things. So be careful not to like jump into a relationship on the rebound. But take some time to heal, reconnect with your loved ones, your family, your good friends, and God. And God, like the scriptures promise us, is close to the brokenhearted. And so God is near to you. Don't allow yourself to beat yourself up with the past. Well, I could have done this and I shouldn't have done that. I think you did enough, right? I mean, you even said it. Like, I've tried everything. But the scriptures tell us in Psalm 127, I believe it is, unless the Lord builds the house, those who labor do so in vain. It is vain for you to put off your rest at night. For, God, it says he gives these things to his beloved while they sleep. In other words, like you can try all human effort in the world to grasp and construct what you want to have happen. But if it's not God's will, you're exhausting yourself in the process. He'll give you his blessings while you're asleep. And so go to bed and just relax. Of just try not to grasp, of say, God, I hand you the past. I'm not going to dwell there anymore. When I keep thinking about it, I'm going to offer that up to you. Nor am I going to dwell in the future. Will he come back? Will I ever find anyone like him again? I want you to give God the past, and I want you to give God the future and live with him in the peace of the present moment.
Don't make it about you. You need to maybe step back and maybe rethink this. And this may not be you. Maybe it was actually him, and he was the one with the problem. He was the one with the brokenness. He was the one with the wishy-washy, can't commit problem, issues. And maybe it wasn't you at all. And you probably are an amazing person. And one day a guy's going to be pretty lucky to have you. And I want you, if you would like, to go get a journal that you just absolutely love, And when I did this, I spent some time doing it, and I just loved it when I picked it up, I wrote in it, and really take the matters of your heart seriously and write down the qualities that you want in a guy. And obviously, some of the qualities he had, and you step back and look at, there probably were a lot you didn't like. And there was probably a lot of garbage you just put up with that you didn't need to. So if you know what you want in a man, or you know what you want in a woman, then eventually when that person comes to you, you'll have the basic qualities of what it is you really want in that person. And if they don't have them, then really you have no business dating them. I don't care how lonely you are, how much you want to be on a date, or how much in your mind you're like, well, maybe. No, you already know. God has already put those out there for you. So take the matters of your heart seriously, but make sure you use it in when that person comes and sweet talks you, say, have this, then, well, we can be friends. And if they don't want to be friends, well, then obviously they probably would have caused you problems anyway.
Glenn is wondering, where do you find a good Catholic woman today? 3 different types of suggestions I'd give you. One, geographically, where should you go? In your diocese, find a really solid, awesome, traditional, holy parish, because I think the devout women and men would tend to flock where it's a solid parish. So go there and dive in. Get involved in ministry, whether it's volunteering with a Life Teen group and whatever. Maybe God's calling you to do pro-life work. Get involved in service at these types of places. It's a great place to meet other people who share solid values. If you're a young adult, get connected through the diocese and call up the diocesan offices for young adult ministry and say, hey, what do you guys have for young adults here? And then they're like, oh, yeah, we've got theology on tap on, this day. We've got, softball and salsa dancing and whatever. Just see what's going on in the diocese. So you can contact the diocese. You could also go to a solid parish. Also, online, a lot of people are having trouble finding people in their day-to-day life with their work schedule. And so you could check out websites like CatholicChemistry.com, AveMariaSingles.com, Catholic Math, Catholic Singles. You just got to be discerning with these things, right? Because there's really no such thing as online dating. I mean, there's online meeting, but dating has to take place face-to-face. And so you have to be discerning, because some people are like, hey, I'm Catholic, and then you start to get to know them, and they're like, yeah, when was the last time you went to church? And I was like, I think I was baptized when I was like 11 days old. It's like, well, yeah, you're Catholic, but I'm looking for a little bit more here. So you got to be discerning on what you're finding, even on some of the Catholic websites nowadays. So you've got geographical places, online places. Don't be afraid to test them out. And then also spiritual places. Talk to St. Anne. Talk to St. Raphael the Archangel. Talk to St. Joseph. Do a novena to some of these saints that are patrons of chaste courtship, of finding a godly spouse. Pray to these saints, and don't just do a novena. Okay, show me Mr. Mrs. Right in 9 days, and I'm gonna have my radar out in the next 9 days because I know it's coming. No, just pray these things for the grace of discernment, because maybe God is saying, hey, I got someone for you, but I still got some work I want to do in your life right now. So keep your eyes on me. And so geographically, go to those places. Second thing is check out those online Catholic dating sites, and then turn your mind and heart up to God, and maybe do some novenas of prayer.
Instead of always looking out, Glenn, of trying to find that person, and a lot of people do that, they go out and they're looking, and maybe I'm going to miss him if I don't go to this place, or I don't go to that place, or I'm not on every, CatholicMatch.com and have a bio there. Why don't you, during Lent, go inward? Go to Jesus. Go to the matters of your heart. Go to adoration every day. Pursue our Lord and his will in your life, and become a strong, amazing man of God, and see where you end up at the end of Lent. I can't even imagine. I bet your life would absolutely transform. And that goes for everybody listening, watching. Pursue Jesus during this Lent. You can give up a lot of stuff, and I know we're supposed to, but pursue Jesus. And at the end of Lent, your life will absolutely change, because it was when I was doing Jesus' work and I wasn't constantly looking for my soulmate, or is this the one? Is this the one? No, it was when I was completely focused on what God was telling me to do in my heart, and I just followed that. And then I met Jason, and he was all the way in the Bahamas when we met. Poof, here he is. That's where I met him, doing God's work. And when I had fully given my heart to Jesus, and I said, okay, Lord, whatever it is your will, I will do. I got my marching orders. You go, you get off your butt, you do it, right? But unless you're doing that and you're pursuing God, you're always going to be wondering, is this the one? Is this the one? Maybe it's her. Maybe the third row up. Maybe that's my future wife, or that's my future husband. It's always there. But when you're not distracted with that, it's like this little bird, right? No. You have bigger and better things to do. And we need all hands on deck in the church right now. So every single one of us need to go pursue Jesus like it is our last day. And he's going to do great things with all of us, especially in this time. It is so dire. And all we need to know is that we are right with Jesus. And if you're right with God and you're doing his will, he will bless you. And when the time comes, you will find that significant other. But maybe you don't have a marital vocation. Maybe you're supposed to be a priest. Maybe that's happening and you're avoiding or ignoring. I don't know. But that's why during this time of Lent, specifically, really seek out the heart of Jesus and see what he has to say.
Yeah, I think it was Curtis Martin who would say, if you want to find the one, don't look, is she the one? Is that the one? He says, look, run, not after her, run after God. With everything that you have, run after God. And after a long time of running, then just look and see who's keeping up with you. That's the kind of person you want to end up with. So next question, rolling in, a follow-up question from Karen regarding her 21-year-old son. Adds that he says that they're intending to get married, and so it's okay, and the Bible are just kind of man-made rules. Well, obviously the Bible isn't man-made rules. They're not just words about God. It's the word of God. But if he doesn't buy that as an authority as to why he should behave this way or that way, what I would explain to him is, like, when you make love to a woman, you're not saying I intend to give myself to you. you're giving yourself to her. You're saying, I am completely yours. I give myself entirely to you. But if they're not married, it simply isn't true. And let's say, okay, well, I love her. Well, okay, love does what's best for the girl. Is it really best for her on your wedding day for her to be 4 months pregnant? Like, is that what she dreamed of as a girl? And just tell them, look, if this woman is your bride, you are going to have the rest of your natural life to exchange this beautiful gift of physical intimacy with her. But these are the only perhaps few months remaining that you have to prepare for the sacrament of marriage. And sexual intimacy is not what holds a marriage together. In the broad scope of married life, it consumes maybe 1% of your married life, if that. It's time right now to buckle up and get ready for the other 99% of your married life, of the patience, of the sacrifice, of the fidelity. Because if I can't say no to my sexual impulses with a woman, my yes means nothing to her. And so just try to explain to them like, hey, maybe this woman is your bride. Perhaps she is. If that's the case, you guys need to get ready. You need to get ready for the demands of marriage because they're serious. It's not this endless sensual roller coaster. And if anything, sexual intimacy both blinds you and binds you because of the presence of oxytocin in that. And that's a gift within marriage, that you don't see each other's faults as clearly when you're close in that way. But outside of marriage, it's disastrous because your judgment of a relationship is toast once you become sexually intimate in that way. And so look, say, hey, perhaps this woman's a great gal and you guys would make an awesome couple, but man, marriage, if it is around the corner, you guys need to buckle down and get ready for it instead of playing house and pretending that you're already her husband. And, you think, well, I'm 21, I'm 22 years old. It's not the age that really matters. Is my body speaking the truth? And the sexual act is the wedding vows spoken through the body. And so maybe some of that stuff could be fruitful, useful. You could also check out our website we have called chastity.org. Chastity.com is our popular Catholic chastity website. A lot of people don't know we also have chastity.org, which is an entirely secular presentation of the virtue of chastity. No religious content at all in that entire website. It's chastity.org, so you can use it in public school settings, no God stuff. So maybe you can pull some articles off that, share that with him, and that way he can't just pull out the religion card to discredit what you're trying to say. Any other thoughts?
Also, I would say to your son, when is the last time, one, he went to confession? When's the last time you went and just talked to God? Has he sat down in adoration and really hashed this out with Jesus and asked him and brought that to him? And also present it to your son maybe of, okay, you have this amount of time before you actually will be her husband. Give that to God and present that to God on your wedding day as a gift to him of the chastity that you had between you before you got married. Imagine that gift and how he would bless your marriage. That's amazing. I mean, talk about grace from heaven. Talk about being a man of God, ready for the fight and battle that comes within marriage spiritually. I mean, that'll really man him up right there, and God will help him do that. But hopefully that will help. And if anything, Mom, pray for him, fast for him, go to adoration for him. And don't constantly just be on him about this. At the end of the day, you say your piece as a mother and you give him to God. And he has to make his own decisions. He's a big boy and he's going to have to deal with the consequences of whatever those decisions are going to be. But your mother's love will never stop and you want what's best for him. But those things can be done through that prayer and that fasting and just loving him and spending time with him right now before he gets married, and maybe going out to lunch and taking him out to dinner, just spending that extra time and doing those extra little things for him right now that maybe you won't be able to do as much after he's married. So just really focus on your relationship with your son right now and not always just like the Bible and this and the rules. And, all of that is important. But at the end of the day, love is more powerful than anything.
This next question is directed to you, Crystalina. Comes from Peter. You talk a lot about men being direct and intentional, but from Crystalina's perspective, how can men also avoid coming on too strong? And before she answers, I would just throw one thing in there for a guy's perspective is if she says no, just accept it. Instead of being like, okay, well, she told me she just wants to be friends, but I'm thinking what she really means is, so you're saying I've got a chance and I'm going to push this more. It's like, respect it if she's saying that she isn't interested instead of just trying to be overbearing and what you want her to feel. So, Crystalina, any thoughts on how a guy can avoid coming on too strong?
Coming on too strong, coming on too little. Honestly, just be straight up with the person. And I think that goes back and forth. But women are always wondering, well, is he this or is he that? I'm just thinking from navigating with my son and having different conversations from him. And he's like, well, how do you know if you should be too strong or too little or this or that? And I'm just like, son, honestly, just be honest with them. Just have that conversation and don't be afraid of it, and don't try to give these little hints and little cues and this and that. Just be honest. Have that conversation. Don't be afraid to just tell them where you're at, what's going on, how you feel, and where you want to go. But that's the easiest way. Just be honest in all things and just kind of put it out there. And will you get some rejection sometimes? Yeah, absolutely. But one day you may not. And at least you know where they stand. They know where you stand. And women really respect that. Women actually really like, just let me know where we're at. Just let me know what's going on. And then we have kind of that direction, and just be a leader and be confident when you're doing it and sure of yourself, because insecurity and approaching is kind of, it's a little rough. So just be confident in what you want, what you know, and what you want to say, and just put it out there. And I mean, you may get rejected, but at the end of the day, you have the courage to do that, and that's good, and it'll just help you down the road. I hope that helps.
And next question coming in from Francisco. I'm from Peru. Jason, to what point do you think it's good to apply the advice given by pickup artists in dating? Is it true that they're quite secular in several ways? Do you consider that a Christian should watch such videos and discern what is true and valuable? I would say there's probably a lot that's not valuable, because girls really don't want a guy that just has the cutest, funniest little pickup line. Girls want a little bit more than that. Girls want a guy who's intentional and sincere, instead of a guy who's like trying to flatter her with the first funny line he could possibly think of. Okay, well, what else is there? What is your intention with me? Are you wanting to actually be friends with me before inviting me on a romantic date? And so if you're looking for dating advice, now, we actually came out with a book called The Dating Blueprint for Guys that would basically teach guys how to date. Of like, what does dating etiquette look like? You know, how does a girl want to be asked out? How does a girl not want to be asked out? Because, you know, unfortunately, some of these tips from the secular pickup artists might actually be successful. But the problem is they're just teaching you how to catch the girls. But are you even catching them for the right reasons? They don't talk about discernment. They don't even talk about, is this the right girl? Is this the right time? It's no, oh, she's cute. Here's how to get her to like you back. It's like, well, wait a minute. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You know, do you really know her qualities? You know, would she be a good spouse? Are you even prepared to ask a girl out? Because I remember on our last episode, we talked about that line from a girl who was asked out by a guy. They went on like a couple dates, and then it came up that he looks at porn. And she just explained to him, like, you can't ask me to commit to you if you're not ready to be faithful to me. You just can't do that. That's not the advice you're going to get from the secular pickup guys at all. You're going to get the opposite. So if you want to get the book, The Dating Blueprint, you can get it online. Since you're from Peru, we actually also have it in Spanish. It was just translated. It's available in an ebook. La Guía para Citas is what it is. And so, so you can find that at chastity.com. You just click on the book, the Dating Blueprint. You can get it in Spanish as an ebook. I don't know if we got it in a physical book yet, but they've got it in the ebook format if you want to listen to that, or also in not listen to, but to read. And then also we've got the ebook in English as well. So any other thoughts on pickup artists or any of that jazz? From a girl's perspective, what does a girl want when a guy asks her out? What is she really looking for that's going to make her interested in this guy? From a girl's perspective. I don't understand.
Look how he just did that to me. He just is like, you deal with this. Deal with, no. No. Just ask her out. Half the time women don't even get asked out these days, and to be asked out is a massive thing, right? I mean, that's the biggest complaint.
Use the word date.
And have a plan, man. Just have the plan. Know where you're going. Know what you're doing. I know what you want to do.
Like Minecraft.
Oh my gosh. Make a plan. Be the man if you're going to be a man, you know, and ask her out and then go from there. But half the time it's like, it just kind of evolves into, no, just be confident. Just go ask her. And like I said, you may get rejected. That's okay. It doesn't mean that you're horrible or you're a loser, nothing like that. That person just was not the one for you, and that's okay. But again, take the matters of your heart seriously and know what it is you're looking for in a woman. And don't just go after, well, she looks pretty, she smells nice. Yeah, hey, why not? just have a little more depth to you than that, and then it'll work out. Things will work out when God wants them to work out, but you got to kind of flex that muscle a little bit.
This next question is coming in from Isabel. I pre-read the question, and Isabel, I want you to know that we love you, but I think Crystalina is going to light you up like a Christmas tree when she answers this question. She asks, how can I go about boundaries? I've told him what mine are, but I feel like I'm just frustrating him. How can I keep him and not feel guilty for it?
Why do you feel guilty? And so it's like, where's the guilt coming from?
Well, it's coming from him. He's trying to make her feel guilty because she's got standards that he doesn't share, perhaps. How can she keep him and not feel guilty?
Well,
should she keep him?
Are you playing games? Don't play games. I mean, don't dress all provocatively and not be modest and then go and sit in your parents' empty house and just be like, oh, we're supposed to behave right now. It's not going to work. You're kind of like leading him on, and I'm not saying you are doing that. I'm saying just in case, okay? But with that being said, once you tell someone no, or you set your standards together, right? Jason and I, we had the talk. You have to have the talk. You have a relationship. You have to just know what is okay, or just we knew we were going to be pure, and we would go and we'd go to adoration. We'd pray before we went on our dates. I mean, we really brought Jesus into our lives. And are you doing that? Are you doing what's best for him as well spiritually? Where are you two at with that? And maybe take some spiritual inventory together during this Lenten season. And how can you improve in your relationship? What areas are you failing? And knock it off. It's that simple. Like, when you want to be pure, you can be pure. But what situations are you putting yourselves in? And if you set boundaries and standards, honey, they've got to stay. They cannot like slowly inch down. It's not. Because then ultimately in the end, you're not going to get what you want and what your heart's longing for and what the gift Jesus is trying to give you if you keep lowering that bar. So if you have standards, you hold yourself to it and you hold him to it. And if it keeps becoming a problem and you guys keep going to the edge, you just got to stop for a while. Or don't allow yourselves to be alone. If you can't be together by yourselves without something happening, well then don't go somewhere where you're by yourselves. There's ultimately a fix to everything if you really want it. That's the thing. Do you really want it?
A couple thoughts I'd throw in there too is you probably are frustrating him because I don't think his heart is in the right place. If he wanted to love you purely and help you become a saint, your boundaries would be super attractive and he'd be overjoyed about them, that you're a woman of integrity, that you're a woman of virtue. He's frustrated because he's not that kind of a guy. And I'm sorry to say that, because I've never met the guy, but he should honor you and he should cherish you and he should lead you in a date in such a way that if you were to die at the end of the date, he could pick up your body and lay it in the arms of Jesus Christ and say, here she is, my God, I took care of her. That's the type of love that you deserve. And I don't think this guy is spiritually mature enough to give that to you, because I think your purity is in a sense hanging by a thread being your own self-restraint. That you've trained this guy to respect your boundaries, but unfortunately, I don't think he shares those boundaries. It's almost like teaching a dog to balance a bone on his nose, right? Like, don't eat it, don't eat it, don't eat it. Okay, now you can eat it. And so he's just waiting for the green light. But here's the problem, like, girls have temptations too. And what happens when you're tempted? Is he going to be the strong one? Or is he going to be the kind of guy, well, if she's willing to do it, then it's totally okay. There's got to be some mutual accountability here, because we're both going to be tempted. And if as soon as you're weak, you feel taken advantage of, I just don't think this is the thing for you. So don't feel guilty about your boundaries. He should be the one feeling guilt for trying to wear your boundaries down. Don't take his guilt on. That does not belong to you. You should be proud of your boundaries, and you should try to find a guy who's proud of them as well. And if this isn't that guy, then Isabel, I'm sorry, I don't recommend holding on to this for that much longer, hoping this guy's going to have a deep, profound change of heart. And maybe there'll be some glimmers of light here and there, but you want a guy who wants nothing more than for you guys to get to heaven, to enjoy the eternity that God has planned for you there. So,
you ladies, guys, you want someone you can serve God with together. You're not always just like pulling along, or always having to justify your faith or why you believe in God or this or that. Like, you want someone, a partner, a comrade, someone who's just going to like do what it is God's asking, and you follow through on God's will in your lives together. It shouldn't be this tug of war with your faith. That's one thing that's just got to be rock solid.
Natalie is asking, Crystalina, best ways to love my husband better.
Oh, Natalie. Oh, look at him. Aww. Oh. No, honestly, I have 8 children and it's just buco crazy in our house. Jason just gets like pushed to the side sometimes. That's the truth, okay? It's rough. It's crazy. And I don't know if you have kids. I don't know your situation, but just pursue your husband with the things that you know he loves. Even the little things sometimes. If you're really busy with kids, just make sure you're wearing that perfume that he loves. Or I don't know, just after the kids go to bed, do something special for him or plan a date night or surprise him with something. Just there are such little things that you can do for your husband that I'm sure would make him happy that you used to do in the beginning of your relationship that you just don't, they don't even exist anymore. So just go back to the basics of the way that you loved him in the beginning. And those were like things just kind of between you. Maybe go back to those and see if that helps a little bit. But always just try to make time and do the things that are important to him as much as you can.
And to get there, I would say ask him. Like,
Yes.
ask him what would make you feel loved more by me. Because you might be thinking, oh, I know what he wants. And then you serve him and he's like, yeah, I made you this delicious eggplant. And he's like, I don't like eggplant. Well, okay, thanks, honey. And not just the type of food or whatever, but it's kind of like that. What is that? Gary Chapman 5 love languages or whatever. That you can even do that online test. There's an online test
with Jason.
and
That's great.
and you can figure okay, well,
and it's free. It's free. You can just go there.
You just Google it and find the online test, but maybe his is affection or spending time together or acts of service or words of praise. And you kind of figure out, okay, maybe the way I like to receive love is not the way that he's looking to receive love. And here I am dishing out all this type of love that I would want to get, when in reality, he's feeling totally unfulfilled because his love language is completely different. Maybe you've already read the book, I don't know. But yeah, just ask him, can you write down 5 ways that you would feel loved by me? And there's your game plan. You don't need to go read a book, take a test. Just ask the guy.
You should take the test, though.
And odds are he's like, okay, here's your litany, But yeah, I would just ask him, and then you kind of got your marching orders, and hopefully he'll reciprocate the question as well to figure out how you would feel loved as well. So we'll take a couple more questions before wrapping up, so our children don't burn down the house in the next room. When they're quiet, that's when there's trouble. It's got troublingly quiet over there. Put away the lighters and stuff. Okay. Sammy's wondering, are there circumstances where it's acceptable to live together before marriage, such as it's financially affordable option, it's acceptable to live together if you sleep in separate bedrooms? No. And there's several reasons for that. The first would be, and these aren't in any specific order, but scandal, meaning you're setting a poor example for the rest of the faithful and the rest of the world. And so your neighbors will see, oh, don't they go to church and they're not married and they live together? They're not going to assume, oh, I'm sure they're practicing chastity in separate bedrooms at all times. No, you've set the example, not only for the Catholics, but just for the world in general. There's another cohabiting couple, and so there, one is scandal. Another thing to consider is occasion of sin, that it's pretty tempting. When you live together, mom and dad aren't there. Your fiance is in her bedroom down the hall. You've got a couch that you're up till 11 o'clock at night watching Netflix together. This is the occasion of sin. And Christ told us to avoid that, to flee from temptation. And so we're putting ourselves in a very tempting situation. Even if you're saving a couple $1,000s in the process, it's not worth the price. And so I would say there are, 3.5 billion other men in the world. Surely you can find another male roommate who wants to split the rent with you, and she could split the rent with another female, and you'd save just as much money. And so the financial option does not hold, because, there are so many people pursuing and preparing for a godly marriage in underdeveloped countries who don't have 1/10 of the income that you and your fiance are making. Joseph and Mary, weren't making a lot of money, but they, and so we've got to look at, okay, I need to quit comparing myself to the world and start looking, how does God want me to prepare for the sacrament? And then one other consideration, living together is special. It's marital. It deserves to be reserved for marriage. So it's like Christmas morning shows up, and I already, looked under the wrapping paper and all the presents anyway, but I'll act surprised on Christmas morning. These are things that should be reserved proper for the sacrament of marriage. And so that way, when the wedding comes, it's not like, well, let's go back to what we've already been doing with this extra perk that we can now share a bedroom. No, save all of that uniqueness for the sacrament of marriage. You guys shouldn't even be in a bed together, period. Not even sitting on a bed together. That is not a bed for a Christian. That's an altar, where,
Yeah.
where a consummation of a sacrament takes place. It's sacred. The book of Hebrews tells the marriage bed, let it be undefiled. And, sacred means set apart for holy use. And so, yeah, so for the sake of scandal, the occasion of sin, the uniqueness of marriage itself, I would say do everything you can to find other means to prepare for marriage while not living in the same place.
I know it all sounds extreme. I know it does. But there is this beautiful intimacy that comes with being together. And when you are living together and you're married, it's just this beautiful just intimacy that happens that should be set apart for marriage. And you want to give that to yourself. And in all things, in everything, just be right with God. And does God want me doing this right now? Can all of you just ask yourself that? The relationship you're in, how you're living, what you're doing, how you're dressing, what's going on in your life, what's going down in your lives right now. Are you right with God? And what you're doing, is it helping that or not? It's like time to start taking spiritual inventory, okay? And Lent is an excellent, excellent time to do that.
Another question coming in on what's a Bible verse that you can use to explain why premarital sex is wrong. We're going to want to look is 1 Corinthians 6, where the scriptures tell us, be not deceived. And so the first thing he's saying is like, many people are deceived on this point. Neither fornicators, meaning those who are engaging in the sexual act prior to the sacrament of marriage. Yeah, baby's waking up crying in the next room, so she's going to go grab the baby. So thank you for joining Crystal.
You are all in my prayers. I will be praying for all of you during Lent.
Live Facebook. Baby waking up screaming in the next room. Whoop, you just hit the light. Here we go. Yes. Bloopers, outtakes. So here we go. So be not deceived. Neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor effeminate, abusers themselves, nor thieves, nor covetous, drunkards, extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God. Now, I just pulled that one up from the King James. Online is the first one that popped up. But you can look it up at the RSVCE or other Catholic Bibles, but it's going to say the same thing. So 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses, I think it's like 9 through 11, is a very clear biblical prohibition for exchanging sexual intimacy prior to marriage. But, as Catholics, we don't refer to simply the scriptures alone, but we have scripture and sacred tradition interpreted through the magisterium that Jesus Christ gave us. When he told Peter, you are Peter, on this rock I will build my church, the gates of hell will never prevail against it. Now, it's getting late over here. Our kids are way past bedtime, but thank you. There's so many questions still sitting here. I wish we had the time to go through, but I think we need to do this again. And so if you do want to submit questions to us to answer on other podcasts, one way to do that is on our Patreon. Patreon.com/Jason Evert is the way to support us in this ministry, especially during COVID. Like 90-something% of our chastity talks have been canceled or postponed because of coronavirus. And so all that income that would be coming into the ministry, the family, just isn't. And so we've, kind of pivoted, doing more online stuff. Virtual seminars we're doing on a regular basis. Crystalina's got one tomorrow night, actually tomorrow in Guatemala. I have a virtual conference tomorrow in South Carolina. And so if you want to book a virtual event, you do it at chastity.com. But if you want to support the mission that we're doing, one of the most helpful ways to do that is by becoming part of the Patreon community we have. You can click the link below, and we send you all kinds of cool swag and free things and t-shirts. And you can also submit questions that we answer on the podcast. But again, check out the pilgrimage coming up. You got a couple days left to get $500 off on our trip to the Holy Land. Just go to chastity.com/pilgrimage. Get Hollow for free for 14 days. Check it out this Lent through the link in the show notes. And then also Covenant Eyes. Get it free for a month to keep your family internet safe. So again, thank you for all the greetings and the hearts from all over the world. I've seen people from, what do we got here? The Philippines and Brazil and everyone all over the world. We love you guys. You guys are on our prayers. Thank you for joining us tonight. God bless.